everyone, it's Crystal with Army Wife 101. I wanted to talk about something more serious than normal. I just happened to be on Twitter and came across a post, and I'm talking freely here, so forget the ums and the everything else. There's a blog called Misadventures of an Army Wife, which I had come across a couple of times, but actually, I don't visit it all the time because there's so many good military blogs and I have a hard time visiting each and every one. In any event, this is a serious topic. She basically wrote a post on April 11th called A Final Goodbye, in which she explained in a nutshell why she was going to commit suicide. And the post basically started about her saying, if you're reading this, I'm already dead. Now, before we go into any depth, I want to clarify she is not dead. Thank God. She did not commit suicide, and they were able to track her down. She's getting the help that she needs, and she's okay. So, thank God for that. But this opens up a broader topic about the other side of war, the wives at home. And it's near and dear to me because I can honestly say I am scared to die, and I haven't thought about committing suicide, but I have been on antidepressants. I have suffered from severe depression, and I am diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, which I've thought about coming out and telling people for a long time. People do judge, but it is what it is. It's something that a lot of wives are suffering from all over bases worldwide. I know many wives who are on antidepressants. It does not mean we're just lunatics or, we go around and we just do crazy things. But unfortunately, the stress of deployments, constantly being on your own, constantly just moving and maybe not always making friends, or just, the stress when you combine all those things, not having your husband, always being worried, it can do things to people, and everybody handles things differently. And I feel like this is a conversation that needed to happen. And while her post was, disturbing and worrisome, because I don't want any wife or anybody to hurt themselves, I could say that it is opening eyes to a problem that I feel is happening constantly. So basically, mine started in 2007. I remember just sitting on the couch one day, and I just got really physically sick. Like my chest was hurting. I was having chest pains, and I don't know. I was like, okay, I know I'm a big girl. Am I having a heart attack, or I don't know what's going on. And this is my story of how mine began. Hers has different roots to how hers began. This is my situation, and this went on for days. I couldn't even get up, and I was just sick. So finally one day I later learned, had a panic attack, and I felt like my face was like, I felt like I was having a stroke or something. And my husband at that point rushed me to the ER, and they did enzyme tests, which is what they do if they think you're having a heart attack. They did all this stuff. My heart was clean as a whistle. Everything was fine. I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, and that was my first experience being put on like Valium and antidepressants and stuff. And a lot of it I didn't even take, because I guess what happened was I finally knew what was wrong, and it helped me a little bit. Well, fast forward 4 months later, my husband deploys. I was okay, but I was nervous. At this point, I was living off post. It was my first time living in a new state by myself, off post, no family nearby, and I was going to have to handle things and be a real adult, I guess, for lack of better words, and handle kids. And I was scared because I really didn't know what to expect with this deployment situation. And oh man, from there I went downhill. I did good for a while because I had a friend come and live with me, and I was okay. But after that, after she left and got her own place and everything, I had moved on post. Oh, I remember days where I couldn't get out the bed. I was just a mess. And the worst part is, you'll have people say, oh, well, you should get up and you should do this. When you're like that, people don't realize generalized anxiety disorder, depression, those are actual, diseases. They're disorders. So you don't have any control over it. I mean, sure, you can get help and everything, but at that point, before you're actually getting help, you don't really have control over how you're feeling. So getting up and going and watching the birds fly doesn't work. And I remember relying on my daughter at times to make dinner. And she was like 9 or 10. And, naturally she wasn't cooking Thanksgiving meals, but, whether it was beefaroni or whatever, I needed her because I couldn't do it. I physically was sick. I could not do it. And every time I would go to the doctor, I'd get thrown on antidepressants. Let's try Wellbutrin. Let's try, God, I've been on so many. Wellbutrin, Klonopin, Xanax, Zoloft. There's so many. And then I did, through Military OneSource, the counseling. That helped a little bit, but it really didn't help because I don't know. It was like they couldn't get to the root of things. Then I went off to Hawaii, and my husband deployed again. And I suffered at the very beginning really bad with the anxiety and the depression, laying in bed. I just didn't have any energy to do anything. I don't know what was wrong with me. At that point, I think it was just being really too far away, worried about my spouse, dealing with kids, worried about just everything for no reason. But for some reason in Hawaii, as much as I couldn't stand living there, I did manage to develop more of a life and have more friends. And at that point, ArmyWife101.com came into my life. And I can almost say that was kind of like my savior in a sense, because I focused so much on that I really didn't have time to wallow in my own depression, I guess. And once again, this is just my story. My story is not as severe because I did realize that, I didn't want to do anything that would cause me to leave my kids. But what I do want to tell wives is that, man, oh man, this is a serious, serious problem. And I'm not saying the Army or the military in general doesn't recognize it, but this is the side of things that people do not see. Having your spouse go away is one of the most scariest, depressing, horrible times of your life. Just not knowing, not hearing from them on a constant basis, being by yourself, waiting for the kids to go to bed, and then just sitting in silence at night. Some people handle it, and some people can't handle it well at all. People will say, do this, do that, do this. Everybody's different. Being happy-go-lucky and joining every activity possible doesn't work for every single person. But I did want to bring acknowledgement to that because, man, I just want to say I'm at 7 minutes and I don't want to bore you to death. But I want to know if people have had experience with depression or anxiety, and how do you feel? How does the military handle it? Not trying to bash them. I'm really not. But I just want to know, have you ever felt like, the military, the doctors within the military sector kind of just brushed you off, put you to the side? Did you find that you suffered from depression and anxiety more after your spouse left for deployment? I also want to acknowledge the amount of support that spouses gave her on her blog post. I mean, this is when I know that regardless of all the debates we have sometime about things, that we can truly come together as military spouses and really be there. I mean, these ladies went out of their way, and I wish I had seen this beforehand because I know I would have went out of my way to make sure she was okay. But they were calling, they contacted authorities and everything, so they really went out of their way for her. And I just kind of wanted to share my story. I know I'm all over the place, but it's such an emotional thing because to think that she just felt like the military had failed her. And this story actually winded up in the New York Times. I'm going to link it above. But please open up and feel free to share your stories. I'm an extremely open and just brutally honest person. And it is what it is. So with that said, continue to visit me at ArmyWife101.com and let's discuss this topic. I'll see you soon.